An aggressive silverback cornered a lost boy. The camera captured a true miracle. The first thing the camera captures is not movement, but stillness, an unnatural, suffocating stillness that seems to press against the lungs like damp cloth. The forest, vast and ancient, feels as though it has paused its own heartbeat. Even the wind, which moments ago whispered through layers of emerald canopy, has withdrawn into silence. There is only the smell, thick, humid, and alive, the scent of wet soil, crushed leaves, and something sharper beneath it, something metallic, almost like fear itself. And then, breaking that silence, comes the sound. A low, guttural rumble, not loud, not yet, but deep enough to vibrate through the ground like distant thunder. It is a warning carved into the language of the wild. At the center of this tension stands a boy, no older than 7. His clothes are dusted with dirt, his small hands trembling, fingers curled tightly around nothing, as though trying to hold on to courage that keeps slipping away. His breath is uneven, quick, carrying the faint scent of salt and panic. His wide eyes reflect the fractured beams of sunlight filtering through the canopy, light that dances across his face but offers no warmth. And just a few feet away, towering, immovable, is the silverback. Massive, silent, watching. His fur, thick and dark with a streak of silver across his back, glows faintly under the dappled light like a shadow carved from stone. Every muscle beneath his skin is coiled with restrained power. His chest rises slowly, deliberately, each breath controlled, measured, dangerous. By every law of nature, this moment should end in tragedy. An aggressive silverback, a lost, vulnerable child, no escape. And yet, something is wrong. Because the gorilla does not attack. He watches. He waits. And in his dark, intelligent eyes, there is something no one expected to see. Not rage, not dominance, but conflict. Before we uncover what happens next, take a moment right now. If this story has already pulled you into its grip, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share where you're watching from and what time it is there. Because stories like this, they connect us no matter where we are in the world. Now, let's go back. Before this moment, before the silence, before the impossible began. The forest stretches across miles of untamed wilderness, its air thick with humidity that clings to the skin like a second layer. The smell here is constant, earthy, alive, tinged with the sweetness of overripe fruit and the faint bitterness of decaying wood. Sunlight rarely touches the ground directly. Instead, it filters through layers of leaves, breaking into soft, golden fragments that shift and shimmer with every subtle movement of the canopy above. This is not just a forest, it is a world. And within this world lives a troop of gorillas, led by the very silverback now standing before the boy. He is known among researchers as Koro, a dominant male. Powerful, protective, unpredictable. But Koro was not always this way. Years earlier, when he was younger, smaller, and still learning the weight of leadership, there had been an incident. A quiet one, almost forgotten by time. A human child had wandered too close to the forest edge. Not unlike today. Back then, Koro had watched from a distance. Curious, cautious. The child had been laughing, chasing butterflies, unaware of the eyes observing from the shadows. And something in that moment, something small and fragile, had stirred a response Koro did not understand. He had not approached. But he had not left either. That memory, buried deep beneath instinct and survival, lingered. And now, years later, it was resurfacing. The boy standing before him now had not meant to enter this world. He had wandered too far from his village, drawn by curiosity, by the promise of adventure hidden beyond familiar paths. The forest had welcomed him quietly, then swallowed him completely. Hours passed. The air grew heavier. The light dimmed, and the sounds changed, from comforting to unfamiliar, from playful to ominous. By the time fear truly settled into his bones, it was too late. He was lost. Search teams had already begun combing the outer edges of the forest. Rangers, trackers, and local volunteers moved with urgency, their voices cutting through the dense air as they called his name. Radios crackled, boots pressed into soft earth. Hope flickered, but with each passing hour it grew weaker. Because this forest does not forgive mistakes. And somewhere deep within it, Koro had found the boy. At first, the Silverback's behavior followed expectation. He approached with dominance, shoulders squared, chest expanding, a low rumble vibrating through his massive frame. His presence alone was enough to command submission from anything that crossed his path. The boy froze, his breath caught. The smell of fear sharpened, acidic, unmistakable. Koro moved closer, step by step. The ground seemed to respond to his weight, leaves crunching softly beneath him. His eyes remained fixed on the boy, scanning, analyzing, calculating. And then he stopped. Something shifted. Experts watching later would struggle to explain this moment. Rangers who eventually reviewed the footage would replay it again and again, searching for a trigger, a signal, anything that could justify what happened next. But there was no clear answer. Because instead of charging, Koro lowered himself. Slowly, deliberately. His massive body relaxed, not fully, but enough to break the tension of imminent attack. His head tilted slightly, as though studying the boy not as a threat, but as something else, something familiar. The boy, trembling, did not run. He couldn't. But his breathing changed, from frantic to cautious to something almost synchronized with the rhythm of the creature before him. Minutes passed. Then, more. The forest, once heavy with tension, began to breathe again. A distant bird call returned. Leaves rustled softly overhead. The air, though still thick, no longer felt suffocating. And then came the reveal, what no one had seen at first, what had been hidden beneath fear and confusion. The boy was injured, a small wound along his leg, raw, inflamed, the skin around it swollen. The scent of infection lingered faintly, blending with the earthy tones of the forest. It was subtle to human senses. But not to Koro. To him it was clear. Pain, vulnerability, not a rival, not a threat, but something broken. And in the wild, broken things do not always mean opportunity. Sometimes they trigger something deeper. Koro moved closer again, but this time there was no aggression in his posture. His movements were slower, measured with an almost unnatural care. He reached out, not to strike, but to inspect. The boy flinched, but did not pull away. A moment of trust, fragile, dangerous, real. Koro's massive hand hovered, then gently touched the ground beside the boy. Not him, not yet, testing, reassuring. And then something extraordinary happened. He sat beside the child, not as a predator, but as a presence, protective, watchful. Hours later, when search teams finally pushed deeper into the forest, following broken branches and faint tracks, they expected the worst. What they found instead defied everything they thought they knew. The boy was alive, curled slightly against the side of a silverback gorilla, and Koro did not move. He did not charge. He did not defend. He simply looked at the humans, and then back at the child. As if making a decision, as if understanding, that his role in this moment was complete. The rescue was careful, slow, almost ceremonial. The boy was lifted gently, his small body weak but breathing. His hand, tiny against the scale of the world, briefly brushed against Koro's fur. And Koro allowed it. No resistance, no fear, only stillness. As the team retreated, carrying the child back toward safety, the forest seemed to exhale. The light shifted, breaking through the canopy in soft golden beams that warmed the damp air. The smell of earth remained, but now it carried something else. Relief. Back in the safety of human care, the boy recovered. The wound was treated, cleaned, dressed, monitored. Doctors spoke in clinical terms: infection risk, dehydration, trauma response. But none of those words could fully capture what had happened, because something else had been exchanged in that forest, something beyond explanation. And Koro? He returned to his world. But those who observed him in the days that followed noticed a change, subtle, almost imperceptible. He was quieter, more watchful, as though carrying a memory he could not share. Because perhaps, in that moment, two entirely different worlds had touched, not through force, not through dominance, but through understanding. This story leaves us with a question that science alone struggles to answer. What drives an animal governed by instinct to choose compassion over survival logic? Is it memory? Is it perception beyond what we understand? Or is it something deeper? A kind of intelligence we have yet to fully recognize. Because what happened in that forest was not just an anomaly, it was a reminder. That empathy is not exclusive to humanity. That connection can exist without language. And that sometimes the most powerful force in nature is not strength, but restraint. If this story moved you, if it made you pause and feel something real, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who believes in the unseen connections of this world. And tell me in the comments, have you ever experienced a moment where an animal seemed to understand you, without a single word? Because those moments, they stay with us, just like this one.